Inspiring Philosophy has a video defending the newest apologist fad, Berkeleyan idealism. This is the idea that everything which exists is mental, there is no such thing as objective reality, and reality as we know it is the product of our minds and the mind of God. Apologists who use this argument believe that they have quantum mechanics on their side. They believe that wave function collapse and the observer effect proves that consciousness creates reality. However, they completely dismiss all the interpretations of quantum mechanics that say that wave function collapse doesn't even really occur, such as the many worlds interpretation.
Another escape route many materialists use is to hold to the many world interpretations of quantum mechanics, which basically argues there is no collapse of the wave function upon measurement, but that every possibility splits off into different worlds. So every quantum probability actually does play out. They just split off into different worlds, and in each one I'm observing each different outcome. But it is riddled with problems, unlike the idealist understanding, and it is an apparent violation of Occam's razor.
I really don't see how the many worlds interpretation is any more of a violation of Occam's razor than assuming consciousness creates reality. We live in one reality, so supposing there are other realities is really not that big a leap. However, supposing that consciousness creates matter requires us to assume the existence of some mechanism by which non-physical minds can interact with physical reality. Or if everything is non-physical, a mechanism by which non-physical minds can interact causally with other non-physical things. We can't observe such a mechanism. We have absolutely no idea what that mechanism is, and I don't think we can even begin to speculate what it is or even how it might work. The very idea of non-physical interaction is itself of questionable coherence. Such a thing would be wholly alien to science as we currently practice it. Yet idealism asks us to assume it is real, and its proponents argue that this assumption is a more parsimonious one than supposing the existence of other physical realities. How the fuck does that make any sense? All the many worlds interpretation asks us to suppose is the existence of other realities, which, while also unobservable, are at least coherent, unlike the idea of non-physical causation. This, in my opinion, makes the many worlds interpretation a far more parsimonious and far superior interpretation. Inferring that wave function collapse is an illusion is far more conservative and coherent than inferring that consciousness somehow has the magical ability to create reality. Now, I think both idealism and its contrary, realism, are unfalsifiable and therefore are not scientific ideas at all. Inspiring Philosophy gives the impression that science actually takes sides in this debate, and while some scientists do take sides, the paradigm of science does not and cannot. You can't prove realism or idealism. In order to prove either one, you would have to be able to step outside of your own consciousness to see whether reality does or does not exist beyond it, which of course is impossible. Whether realism or idealism is true is simply not a question science can address. And there's one more thing about idealism that I find really strange. If reality is truly created by consciousness, then our minds create our brains rather than the other way around. If brains are created by minds and not the other way around, why do we need brains at all? Why do they even exist? Now you may say, we need brains to act as an interface with our muscles. Okay, but why, if idealism is true, do our minds need this biological interface to communicate with our muscles? If our minds created the brain and created our muscles, and if the mind controls what the brain does, why can't the mind control what the muscles do directly? Why do we need a nervous system? If idealism is true, then using brains to control our bodies would be entirely superfluous and unnecessary. However, if you believe in idealism, I think it's clear that you already believe using your brain to be entirely superfluous and unnecessary.